Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome back for another dose of nightmare fuel. And today we are heading back to the wonderful land of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is one of cinema's all-time most beloved movies that anyone of any age can adore. Not short of nightmare fuel itself, The Wizard of Oz, but it maintains its legacy of being a classic movie. However, despite being based on a big series of novels by L. Frank Baum, we never got any sequels for decades. But then, in 1985, Disney decided, you know that lovely, happy, colourful land of Oz? Let's go back there and traumatise every innocent child who goes there as well. Before we return to Oz, here's some cliff notes of The Wizard of Oz to help with the continuity of this review. A lot of us already know the story, but here's the basics for the uncultured swines. Dorothy Gale is a young girl living in Kansas. She's swept up by a tornado along with her pet dog Toto, and her house lands in Oz on top of the Wicked Witch of the East. Her sister, the Wicked Witch of the West, swears revenge on Dorothy. All the while, Dorothy makes her way towards the Emerald City, where she must try and find a powerful wizard to help her return to Kansas. While on the way, she makes a few friends, including a scarecrow, a tin man, and a cowardly lion, who help Dorothy to vanquish the Wicked Witch, and assisted by a pair of magical ruby slippers, Dorothy returns to Kansas to her Auntie Em and Uncle Henry. The world is restored, and there's no place like home. Yeah, well, now let's teleport to 46 years later, though for Dorothy it's only been a short space of time. And you remember that iconic happy ending with Judy Garland? Prepare for that happy memory to be crushed to sand when you see Dorothy, traumatized, staring out of her bedroom window. All of her stories about Oz are deemed delusions, and Auntie Em takes her to a psychiatrist, leading to Dorothy being imprisoned in a mental institution and subjected to electroshock therapy. Jesus Christ! Even the flying monkeys don't stack up to this. This is far too adult for what it deserves. It's staggering that they went in this direction, but bloody hell is it bold. Kansas may have been sepia tone when we last saw it, but now it's a miserably grey, dull environment. The hospital is an enormous, dark, dingy building with ominous members of staff, including the head nurse Wilson, played by Jean Marsh. A squeaky wheeled stretcher slowly comes to collect Dorothy in the middle of the night during a thunderstorm and takes her to be shocked. The overall threat here, combined with the nightmare-inducing environment, is totally horrifying. This is a little girl who lives on a farm, and she's been held captive against her will and threatened with surging her brain with electricity to get her imagination out. That is fucked, Disney. Not cool. Thankfully, just as the machine charges up, there's a power cut and the staff investigate. So Dorothy is just strapped to this stretcher in the dark, rain and lightning outside, while other patients can be heard screaming in fear in the distance. You don't need to see any of them, you just need to hear their pain, and that's enough to put the shits up you. Luckily, Dorothy is saved by a young blonde girl, and the pair escape the hospital, pursued by the head nurse, and fall into a river where Dorothy climbs into a wooden crate and winds up floating all the way to Oz, joined by her pet chicken Bellina, who is now able to speak. But Dorothy just got out of a dangerous place, back to the land of Oz, a place she knows well with people who can help her. But where exactly has the crate landed? Ah! Great, a desert that can turn any living being into sand if you touch it. Nice one, River, nice one. Thankfully, Dorothy is able to hop out of the deadly desert and stumbles across her house from the original film, and finds that the formerly pristine yellow brick road has been dismantled and destroyed. She runs down it and, surprisingly quickly, ends up at the Emerald City. Geographically, I found this weird as fuck. If the house is in the same place as the original, like, they're not gonna fucking move it, are they? Then it's at the Munchkin village, and it took Dorothy ages to get from there to the city. But in a matter of minutes screen time, she's just there. I guess she's discovered the Emerald City before, so obviously she must have unlocked fast travel. At the city, Fuss Row Dorothy worryingly discovers that its people have been turned to stone, including a group of dancing women that have had their heads removed. Nice. Also among the ruins are the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion, which saddens Dorothy deeply. But then she starts to hear squeaking in the distance, the same type of metallic squeaking she heard in the hospital. It's time to introduce a few jerry cans full of nightmare fuel. Beware the wheelers.
Come here, chicken!
These fucking things. Nope. Their high-pitched cackling, elongated limbs, and freaky masks were enough to terrify any child. It's not even particularly great for adults either. The Wheelers were the subject of a lot of kids' nightmares due to their general appearance, combined with their erratic movement. No thank you. Luckily, Dorothy escapes them and bumps into a metal clockwork man named TikTok, who she brings to life by winding him up. TikTok lets her know that it was the Scarecrow that put him there to wait for her arrival back in Oz. Thankfully, TikTok is an absolute tank, so is able to fend off the Wheelers with ease, and everyone eventually comes face to face with Princess Mombi. At first, Mombi seems quite normal, if a little bombastic, but in true Wurzel Gummidge fashion, we learn that she has a room full of interchangeable heads in glass cabinets which she can swap out whenever she wishes. Oh, great, because that isn't horrendous in the slightest. Mombi wants Dorothy's head for her collection, but only when she's older, so she imprisons her. Thankfully, Dorothy finds another new friend, Jack Pumpkinhead, who is completely adorable and childlike. The gang set up a plan to escape when they find the head of a creature called the Gump, which can fly when revived. However, the revival potion sits inside one of Mombi's cabinets. If you know, you know. If you don't, brown trousers at the ready. Dorothy goes to the cabinet room, and whose head is in the potion cabinet? The same head as Head Nurse Wilson, Jean Marsh's head. Dorothy accidentally knocks over the potion, waking the head, and then this. Jesus fuck. Honestly, this might be the biggest jump scare so far in the Nightmare Fuel series. Every single thing about it, from the score to the headless body trying to catch Dorothy, to the other heads shouting at her, to Jean Marsh screaming her name, this is unprecedented. How did Disney come up with this? Well, shit, it's a good job Dorothy got that potion in time and is able to revive the Gump, creates a vehicle out of bits and pieces, and escapes the city, crash landing on the side of a mountain. But who lives in the mountain? It's at this point I should mention that throughout the film, since Dorothy arrived in Oz, we've heard the voice of and had references made to a being called the Gnome King. The Gnome King has these creepy ass servants that can appear in any stone surface throughout Oz. Of course, in this freaky stop frame animated claymation form, because that's always lovely. The Gnome King has been using his operatives to keep an eye on Dorothy and her forbidden chicken the whole film, and now the gang come face to face with him. The Gnome King has the Scarecrow imprisoned in the mountain and says that he had the Emerald City dismantled because the emeralds it was made of came from inside his mountain, and therefore he was taking back what was originally his in the first place. The Gnome King himself has the same claymation style effects on him, and he truly is a terrifying creation. Try getting this fucking thing out your dreams. He sets the gang a challenge. The Scarecrow has been turned into a random ornament in a room full of ornaments, and each person must guess what ornament he is. If they guess incorrectly, they themselves become an ornament. The Gump and Jack fail the challenge, and after each failure, the Gnome King becomes more lifelike. Thankfully, Dorothy is able to solve the puzzle and defeat the Gnome King, and he doesn't like that. He transforms into a giant monster surrounded by fire and smoke inside the mountain. The rock faces come to life and prevent the gang from escaping. Just look at these fucking things. Thankfully, Bellina lays an egg into the Gnome King's open mouth, which causes him to be poisoned and die off, turning into this rock skeleton looking amalgamation. This film's just LSD for kids, man. Bloody Nora. Everything crumbles to the ground, but Dorothy grabs the ruby slippers from the Gnome King, who throughout the film has been using them to make him more powerful, and is able to put Oz back to normal again. Dorothy is sent back to Kansas by the little girl who helped her escape the hospital, who turns out to be Ozma, the rightful ruler of Oz. And at last, we might just have an actual happy ending, but definitely not for the endless queue of mind-fucked kids that watch this. Return to Oz truly is a fearsome anomaly in the live-action Disney collection. Oz is more of a dangerous wasteland this time round where nowhere feels safe. Our beloved characters from the first film are all shown to be downtrodden in some way, whether it's Dorothy in a mental facility, the Scarecrow imprisoned, or the Tin Man and Lion turned to stone. All the happy memories of Oz we cherish are blown to pieces by unsettling animation, otherworldly enemies like the Wheelers and the Gnome Gnome King, and one of the most heart-stopping jump scares ever seen in a kids movie. I do absolutely love this film though, due to its full-on hardcore nature of not giving a single fuck about wrecking a lot of people's happy memories. It displays Oz in a totally different light, and even though the tone and a lot of the themes in the film were way too grown up for its own good, you can watch this as an adult and kind of appreciate its braveness and imagination. If you're looking for a jolly uplifting, colourful sequel to The Wizard of Oz, keep on looking. But if this opened up some deeply rooted nostalgia scars, then you may have just found a new web series for you. With plenty more nightmare fuels coming up and a lot in the back catalogue, sink your teeth in and see what other repressed memories we can unbox together. There's no place like Unleash the Ghouls, so until next time, my munchkins, good night and sweet nightmare fueled dreams.